Welcome back to Trekyards, everybody. I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Kongs. I feel like this is going to be your favourite one we filmed, Stuart, because this feels like you're coming home.
Yeah, this is pretty great. We're going to talk TWOK. We're going to talk TWOK today. The Wrath of Khan. In the episode I, Excretius from Lower Decks, episode 8, we do get a holodeck simulation, or a holopod simulation, I guess you could say, more accurately, of the Star Trek II engineering scene where you got a little bit of a problem with the warp thing. It's not nominal. You got to align the things. You got to do the thing.
Oh, you mean thing where you have to kick it? You have to kick it into place. Is that the Wrath of Khan talk about?
No, that sounds stupid. Why would you kick a warp core?
Oh, that was the other Wrath of Khan. Sorry.
Oh,
Into
yes.
darkness. Sorry, just the way you said that was like such a perfect segue to that joke.
So yeah, we got a nice simulation of the Wrath of Khan era, complete with monster maroons, radiation suits.
Now, this was teased in the this season on, and we obviously hoped for a lot more in the sequence. We didn't get much else. It's a pretty self-explanatory scene conceptually, so therefore you don't need to do too much more with it. But it was great to see. Well, this was really just Rutherford's scene. It would be nice to have had a second scene for him, another engineering-based one. But in terms of going where no Trek has gone before, this is the first time we've seen the Enterprise refit, which we did see for a brief second for decades, and the full uniform for a while, etc. Wrath of Khan. So it was a hell of a nice thing, and for those of us that are enjoying seeing the Lower Decks version of different uniforms, it's quite a joy by itself. But I'll be honest, going into this episode, I was not instantly thinking they replicated the sets. For whatever reason, I wasn't connecting that they did just replicate. I thought they were doing something more, like something different, probably because of the angles. But in doing these comparisons, I was kind of blown away. And if you cut to this first picture, actually, no, this is actually super faithful. And I didn't. I mean, it's such a there's only 2 shots you see of the actual set in this sort of way. It's very quick, and you're not focusing on that in the moment. But when you can actually stop and look, it's like, damn, they did it.
As the Lower Decks team tends to do. If they're showing a specific thing, they tend to get it pretty accurate. So yeah, the reaction chamber here absolutely is spot on, even like the warning labels on the outside. Yeah, I was super happy to see it. The Monster Maroons alone, but everything else on top of it just kind of worked. One thing that was, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. The one thing that was kind of off was the L-cars a bit, but it is the Enterprise. It is the Enterprise, because you can see that on the L-cars reading. And when you get a shot of the ship's exterior, even though it's far away, if you zoom in, it's got 1701 on the nacelle. In case anybody was wondering if it's actually the Enterprise. It is. I love the radiation suits as well. Spot on. Perfect. So.
Yeah, we'll get into those in a minute as well. I mean, there's some slight inaccuracies. There are missing some panels, etc. But it's a question of how much is too much, I suppose. They've already done plenty. And let's be honest, 93% of fans won't go in and compare them. Let's be honest. A few will. So I think it's a phenomenally good replica. Second picture, though, is the reverse. There is no direct comparison angle, but when you do find the closest, you do realize, yes, they did replicate the warp core. They did do it. It's just such a different angle. And I do remember how the set looks from TMP as well, because they had a similar set, so I do know it's correct. Yeah. No, it's really... It's nice, and it's different angles, so it does give you more of a grounding to the set than we actually had in TWOK.
It's adding a little bit to the canon of what the engineering looks like, and that's fantastic. Even though we've seen it all before in fan recreations of 3D renders, and Mr. Scott's got the Enterprise. We all know what it looks like in beta canon.
And it just occurred to me as well, in this shot, you see the dilithium inside the chamber, but obviously in the movie, it's just a box that the guy lifts and a light spews on his face. I don't know if I necessarily ever thought, oh, there's dilithium in that box. That's what it's telling us here. It's see-through. That's a whole different feel.
I never quite thought that either, but...
Because I would assume dilithium would be in the core like it would normally be. Why would it be off in a different
it's in the reaction chamber. That's where the reactiveness of the thing... Because it doesn't power the ship, Samuel. We all know that. It's a catalyst. I know. I'm just saying.
I know. It's just all the warp cores. It's always in the middle. But I mean, TOS it isn't. It's in a separate unit, so I guess it does make sense. I just never connected that, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, Stuart, then we have a comparison between the different pieces. Yeah,
the radiation suit, the Monster Maroon, bang on. Awesome job, guys.
I mean, is that not a little mic drop moment, really, for closeness?
Yeah, Absolutely.
But no, fantastic. I mean, just the right amount of detail. Looking great. But then, yes, let's look at the MSD. So this MSD, yeah, you can tell us why it's a bit confusing, because it just looks like a great MSD. You tell us what you see, and I'll tell you what I see.
Well, I know what I see, and that is a not era-appropriate MSD. Plus, I'm pretty sure it's a fan one because I've seen it before. The colors aren't right. The colors are very TNG. The actual Elcar's layout looks very kind of NX era. It's kind of a mixture of a few things. It should be blue or green if it's down there in this era. So that's what I see. But it does say Enterprise in the top left there if you do zoom in. So.
Yeah, of all the things, I mean, it definitely screams NX to me. And we know NX uses a pre-Elcars, not actually Elcars. And only by Star Trek 3 they actually started using Elcars formally at the end of the movie when Mike Okuda came along. So these are just the computer interfaces. And at this point they're odd, definitely a lot of greens, but not quite as hard blue and green as is later when they unify it. So it's surprising. It definitely feels like an NX pad. I'm not sure why they went this route. One thing that's pointed out online is that this actually isn't the Enterprise refit's side view. It's actually the Phase 2 Enterprise's side view. You can tell by the subtleties in the nacelles and the pylons and a little bit of the detailing with... I mean, all the little details are just slightly off to the refit. But it's the Phase 2 version Enterprise, so it's not the refit.
Yeah, the BC deck, you can tell the shape and the bridge module. Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. I never really noticed that.
It's super hard to tell until you have them side by side, which I guess I have done in the edit, but I haven't done here.
Yeah, if you can zoom in for the audience too, just so they can maybe see. It does say Enterprise, but you're right. Damn. That's interesting. I wonder if that was done on purpose or...
Because we know that in TMP we even see the TOS Enterprise on graphic displays because they use the technical manuals, etc. And there's even some Phase 2 displays, as Mike could have said in one of his posts. So I'm assuming this is a meta reference to say, even at this point, they hadn't quite updated all their computer displays because they hadn't in those movies, but it isn't the refit. Because I'd be hard-pressed to think the guy that drew this on the team accidentally, while searching Enterprise refit, found the Phase 2, given they are not the same thing. And there's plenty of side views of the refit in Eagle Moss, etc. So it's the most famous version of Enterprise, arguably. I'm not sure I call it a mistake, but it's not a correct drawing. But is that an acceptable meta joke?
Yeah, absolutely. As we see in Star Trek 3, when there's a security alert in Spock's quarters, we got the overlay of the original Constitution class still in the computer. Because really, the interior layout of the ship wouldn't have changed too much. So but how easy it is to update computers today.
Seconds, yeah.
I don't buy in the future. At the time the movie was made, sure, it's probably along those lines of thinking with the Navy, like you don't update certain things so you don't need to. But it just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the graphics guy just didn't realise. He did what he was told based on old things that just didn't change it. Because that's the same sets and the same story for those three movies in terms of roughly with the graphics. But then obviously they, refit it later on. So yeah, small thing. But also when Eagle Moss made their refit and it really wasn't the refit, it's not really a small thing given... they make so many tiny, big mistakes and then they get so many billions of things right. It's confusing. So let us know, guys. Was it intentional? Was it not? Are you annoyed by it? Are you not? We'd love to know. We'd love to hear. But Stuart, overall, how happy are you that we see Rutherford trying to use his shoes to open a panel before the Enterprise blows up? How happy are you with that?
I'm super happy. Barely inconvenienced. Anyway, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell icon to all, and join us for lives where we talk about this kind of thing because we love Star Trek. And pointing out the nitty-gritty and the fine little details, that's what we do. So join us if you can. And
if you want to support what we do, because we do a lot, you may have noticed, then please do on Patreon, on PayPal, join the Trek channel on YouTube, or super chatting. We love the super chats, especially because they are a direct one-on-one. We get to have that big, broad conversation with you, and you can really steer us where you think it'd be interesting to go. So support if you can. If you can't, then just like, subscribe, as Stuart said, and just check out the next video because that does all help the algorithm. And while we don't work to the algorithm, we want to work to you guys. So help us out by checking out what we do.
That's right. So until next time, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Congs.
See ya.
Bye, guys.